Hey everybody, MaskedMetaKnight4, and let's talk about pocket monsters, also known as Pokémon. This series has captured the hearts of many across the globe since 1996, ranging from video games, merchandise, manga, anime, to trading cards. Pokémon became one of the highest grossing media franchises of all time. But this video won't be about the glory of Pokémon. Instead, it's all about the cons. Specifically from the mainline games, because buried under the successful surface is filled to the brim with issues. But before we dive in, there's two words that need to be taken account for. The first word being accountability. Is this Game Freak's fault, Creatures Inc.'s fault, Masuda's fault, Nintendo's fault? Whenever there's Pokemon discourse, different parties sometimes get blamed for different issues they have little to no part of. So, to make things simple, we'll just be referring to the big company itself, the Pokemon Company. But because I'll be a mouthful, we'll just call them TPC. Second word is accessibility. The mainline series will be discussed in a way where an individual bought a copy of a core Pokemon game that is being played on official Nintendo hardware without any outside modifications. With that out of the way, now let's see how frustrating these mainline games truly are. Pokemon game versions. A practice TPC have been using from the very beginning. A form of seniority, if you will, to the point where it became so normalized to the public eye. Because if any other gaming IP tried this method the way Pokemon does in modern time, they would most definitely get backlash for it. Let's take a look at some examples from other IPs that contain different versions of a game which also has some form of justification to exist in the first place. Sonic Generations, where you have a higher budget console version with its own version of level and boss fights, and the lower budget handheld game with its own version of levels and boss fights. Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, where both games share the exact same platformer fighting mechanics and gameplay, but each version has their own spin of shared game modes while also having exclusive modes entirely that the other version does not. Or, how about Fire Emblem Fates, where depending on what version you play, you'll have to choose what army you'll fight for, giving you exclusive units to command, and an exclusive story objective from the others, making them all different from each other. Now, let's look at what Pokemon has to offer when it comes to exclusive versions. The most common element is exclusive Pokemon. Some Pokemon only appear in one version, and some Pokemon only appear in the other version. What makes this idea completely meaningless is that these exclusive Pokemon can still be used in the other version by simply trading them over. Pokemon spawn rates are based off of percentages because multiple Pokemon can habitat the same area. With that in mind, the other exclusive Pokemon can just be added to the percentage pool of the general area. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, and the alternate versions Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, have a time zone difference. If you're playing Sun version at 12 PM, the in-game time will be the exact same. If you're playing Moon version at 12 PM, the in-game time will be 12 AM. Depending on when you like to play this game, this exclusive feature can become an annoyance. For example, in Ultra Sun and Moon, in order to get a Dusk Lycanroc, you will need a special event Rockruff that has the ability Own Tempo. Needs to be at level 25 and gain a level at a specific time of day. At least for evolutions like Umbreon and Espeon, who evolve during the night and day respectively, they have a reasonable amount of hours to do so. For Dusk Lycanroc, you need to evolve it between 5 to 5:59 PM in local time. This becomes more of an annoyance if you own Ultra Moon, which means you'd have to evolve them between 5 to 5:59 AM. Oh, what's that? You need your sleep, and waking up that early is an inconvenience to you? Well, don't worry, you can time scum your 3DS. But the game will penalize you for any other time-sensitive options that you have going on for the next 24 hours. How kind of them! If you're playing Ultra Sun, hopefully your favorite colors aren't green, blue, purple, or gray, because color options in clothing are version exclusives. But don't worry, you're not completely out of luck. As long as somebody playing the other version not only is hopefully wearing the shirt you like, but they also visit your festival plaza. That way you can buy it for yourself. But in order to do that, you need your festival plaza to be level 10 before you can pay for those clothing. TPC also likes to have exclusive characters that only appear in specific versions, but they all serve the same purpose. But guys, please buy the other version too, so that way you can meet these characters you'll be missing out on. Or maybe having exclusive versions means the story will be different. Aside from having a different box legendary that will serve the exact same purpose as the other, I don't think so. It's still not different when one group of evil cosplayers cause worldwide skin radiation with the sun, and when the other group of evil cosplayers holds a global contest on who can hold their breath the longest underwater. Both parties would basically be dooming the world, and all of their encounters take place in the exact same locations in both versions. How swell. And then there's a few times where TPC will pump out a third, definitive version, where it adds more quality of life changes, events, Pokemon, and content in the span of 0 to 2 years. Disregarding the fact that the first 4 generations of Pokemon have the same game being sold under 3 different names, at least the third time it didn't come in a pair. But then they said screw you, we like money. For a franchise that loves to have exclusive versions, they sure love to put them together when it comes to overall sales. Please, oh please, buy them both. What if you just want to play the story again? Since you've already beaten the champion and want to go on your adventure again. Or maybe you just want to try out a different Pokemon starter. That's why you'll buy a new game! In the off chance Pokemon is the only RPG series you've ever played in your life, having multiple save files in an RPG is a very common thing. With how varied playthroughs can be, they are much needed to have if you want to run different team compositions, play different modes, or even if a sibling or friend wants to play so that way they don't play on your own personal file. How many files does Pokemon give you?
1!
If you want to play the game again, go buy the other version. You could also just delete your first save file, but as I'll be getting to later, Pokemon are much more valuable than what meets the eye. Even TPC is fully aware how valuable these creatures are, because if you do try to delete your save data, the game won't let you. At least not before warning you about the decision you're about to make, and finally asking you to press a specific button combo on your handheld device to erase your data for good. If this was only an occurrence in the older games, it wouldn't be the biggest deal, but since Pokemon is always 10 steps behind of being in touch of reality, even in Sword and Shield, you only get one save file. But fortunately, since Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, these games are now off handheld devices and onto a console like the Switch. We now have a loophole where you can use a guest account to play on the same cart. The only way we get multiple save files. Whether you want an easy breeze, a ball-busting experience, or anything in between, a difficulty setting would satisfy all parties. This may come off as a shock to you, but Pokemon doesn't have a difficulty setting. Except they tried it once, in the most mind-numbing way possible. In Pokemon Black 2, once you beat the champion, you will unlock Challenge Mode, also known as Hard Mode, where the AI is smarter with more Pokemon and strategies. In Pokemon White 2, once you beat the champion, you will unlock Easy Mode. If you own White 2, it looks like you're out of luck for Hard Mode. Unless you get on Unova Link via the game's infrared port with another player who has Black 2 that has also completed the prerequisite. The Black 2 owner can send you the difficulty option so that the White 2 owner can play Challenge Mode. But be careful, because if you start a new save file, you lose said Challenge Mode. What were they on? Because Pokemon has one difficulty option, a hot topic for the last couple of years is if the Pokemon games have always been easy, and if the older games were genuinely hard. The closest thing we have to a difficulty option is changing the battle mode in the settings, from shift to set, which means you can't switch a Pokemon for free after KOing another trainer's Pokemon, also known as PvP rules. Pokemon over the last few generations have been adding features during the campaign that would make one's journey much easier, like the buffed EXP share, affection where your Pokemon will tank hits or even dodge moves, repeated healings from NPCs, Rotom powers, allowing you to use a second Z move. As long as these features are optional, it comes down to the player if they want to utilize them or not. It becomes a problem when they are forced upon you when you don't want them. Easily the biggest debate I've seen of this is the EXP share. For some unknown reason, the jump from Ultra Sun and Moon to Let's Go and Sword and Shield made it so that the EXP share is always on, meaning non-fainted Pokemon in your party can gain half of the experience. Even though I personally disagree that EXP all is a bad thing, I can understand both sides of the argument. A lot of modern RPGs have a party system where everyone in and out of the group can earn experience, which means you don't have to grind that much. But those other modern RPGs are much better balanced with EXP distribution, meaning having forced EXP all in Pokemon, and your team never rotating means you'll be a bit overleveled. Of course, the solution to all of this would be to have an on and off switch for EXP share, but we can't have nice things. Every now and then, on the internet, you will see Group A fighting amongst themselves with other people about how Pokemon has baby difficulty with no real challenge. You will have Group B swooping in, begging for Group A to play a video game that doesn't have Pikachu in it. Although I fully agree with Group B, sometimes it gets confusing what age group TPC is trying to target. As much as Pokemon Black and White gets praised in modern time, when it was released, many disliked it since it didn't feature any of the Pokemon from Gen 4 and prior, even though the game sold millions. Gen 6 and onward, you start to see a shift, a lot more of Kanto love. The Kanto starters got their own Mega Evolutions, Charizard got 2, Mewtwo as well got 2, Alola got a lot of connections to Kanto, every Alolan variant was also from Kanto, exclusive Kanto Z moves, the majority of the Galarian forms are from Kanto, a bunch of Gigantamax forms are also from Kanto, but don't worry guys, Charizard didn't get 2 forms this time. They wouldn't want to show their bias now would they? Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow came out in the 90s, Fire Red and Leaf Green came out in 2004. There are children who haven't been around long enough to have nostalgia for these games because they weren't alive. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here and say that these Kanto Pokemon being advertised are meant to target fans who are a bit on the older side. But then you have a game like Pokemon Let's Go that takes place in Kanto, was stated in interviews that this game is for a much younger audience, when all the other main games are already newcomer friendly anyway. And even then, Pokemon is so huge, it has millions of fans of every generation, which is why TPC is willing to pump out remakes any chance they get for any generation, because they're guaranteed to get sales off of nostalgic fans. Sounds like Pokemon is for everyone. So an easy solution would be to give us a difficulty option instead of making 2 separate games for 2 different age demographics, but we've already established that you're only going to give us 1. Let's talk about Pokemon's campaign, and we'll kick it off with the story. The plots in all these mainline games are extremely cookie cutter. I will even go out of my way to say if you've played one game, you've played them all. However, you can make an arguable exceptions for generations 5 and 7, because they try to be a bit more ambitious above the rest. You are a 10-year-old boy or girl who lives with their mom, who gets the opportunity of a lifetime to explore the region, collecting gym badges with your very own Pokemon, where you'll encounter your rival jerk or friend occasionally throughout your journey, while eventually taking down an evil organization threatening the world because the cops and the government are too incompetent at their job. Then with all of your experience, you take on a 4-man boss rush, dethroning the previous champion, since you are the one who takes their place. This isn't everyone, of course, but a claim I often see when it comes to purchasing a Pokemon game is that people aren't in it for the story. So let's take a dive into what these Pokemon campaigns have to offer that isn't the plot. Because as samey as these Pokemon plots can be, having a predictable plot isn't always a bad thing if the journey in between is enjoyable. One of my favorite examples is Super Mario. In the 3D Mario games, you'll have the game start off with Princess Peach getting kidnapped, and ending with Princess Peach getting rescued. New Super Mario Bros. Series, same criteria. The difference between the two is the former had much more time to try out new and quirky ideas, yet still staying true to the 3D Mario formula, and the latter gets duller as time went on due to not changing that much at all and feeling very samey. Pokemon has been around for 25 years, and with a large library of core games, we did get some necessary quality of life changes, like the special physical split from Gen 4, and a new typing in Gen 6. Aside from that, the battling has barely evolved or changed over the years. It has always been the same old turn-based action, and won't ever explore any forms of other RPG subgenres. To compensate, TPC will incorporate a gimmick that battles will heavily rely on. Going through the regions can be a drag, some more annoying than others. All it took was 7 generations for TPC to finally remove HMs from their games, so that way you don't have to carry HM slaves, because they wanted you to stay on a linear path. These games have very little room for exploration. Every town is essentially just challenge the local gym and listen to NPCs ramble about nothing because they're carrying an item you want. Otherwise, the town you're in provides nothing much of value for you unless it has that one person in the country who can change your Pokemon's nickname or remove HM1 from a Pokemon you accidentally gave to. The Pokemon series can make very memorable character designs and usually knocks them out of the park, for the most part. But that's as far as these characters normally go. Except for when they treat you, the protagonist, like a prodigy because you knew grass types could beat water types. Character interactions are very boring, and it doesn't help that your character is mute. Hey guys, look! Rant made an ellipses joke. Get it? Because he doesn't talk? Well, that joke would be better appreciated if all the protagonists after him weren't all pieces of cardboard. In other forms of media, like the anime or spin-offs, these characters have some form of personality going on, but that's not the case in the mainline games. Speaking of personality, when you're out and about catching Pokemon, the Pokédex always has some cool and interesting tidbits about the ones you caught, like how they catch prey or how they live their everyday lives. Too bad we never get to see them do that. When you're not out there battling, most of the game is everyone standing around talking, not really doing anything. Collecting Pokemon and making your dream team will always be one of the franchise's greatest strengths, but you really don't get the opportunity to go all out with your party. Although these games encourage you to capture as many Pokemon as possible, I guess the NPC trainers in the game miss that memo. There's so many trainers that don't carry full party teams to combat yours. Usually, it's just a champion and your rival, which is odd considering every generation keeps adding so many new Pokemon. There should also be enough variety to fill in 6 slots. But no, I'm just convinced TPC doesn't want you to do 6v6 battling because there's never any ranked ladder formats for full battles. But don't worry, as long as you have a friend, you can play in a friend room together and have a 6v6 there, right? No fun allowed. Now that Pokemon is off the 3DS, for some idiotic reason, the time limits for battles got shortened from 60 minutes to 20 minutes. You thought that was a Pokemon Sword and Shield exclusive? Nope. They did it for the Diamond and Pearl remix, meaning there's a high chance you won't be finishing a battle if somebody brought stall. Thanks guys, just what everybody wanted. It's difficult to ignite my enthusiasm when Pokemon has set the bar so low that when you trip on a slightly higher bar they've made, it's revolutionary. Congratulations guys, you can finally change our party outside of Pokemon centers. It's time to celebrate. Earlier in the video I talked about accessibility. I'm going to bring it up here because of challenge runs such as Nuzlocks. Nuzlocks are very popular within the Pokemon community, which provides you challenging rules, and if a Pokemon faints, they're gone for good, like Classic Mode and Fire Emblem. Players may also do randomizers, a lot of their Nuzlocks, or just randomizers in general, which are very popular within the community as well, which are usually run on emulators or if they're modify their games. Also, they come in handy when you can go 500% speed mode to get past the boring dialogue in these Pokemon plots and have the joy of having the craziest of team combinations and battles, providing genuine challenge. After the main campaign is done, what can a game offer that impels the player to come back for more, since they clearly can't play the game again with one save file? Post-game content. In the more recent Pokemon games, post-game has gotten very dry. Sometimes they'll have cool events like Team Rainbow Rocket, but provide nothing else afterwards. Everyone will always scream for the Battle Frontier. We get some variation of that, for example like the Battle Tree, but it's never in its full glory with the different battle vicinities with their own set of rules to play. TPC also likes to get rid of content from their games for some reason, like triple battles, rotation battles, inverse battles, battle royales. Get them all out of here! No fun minigame collections either, like the Pokéathlon, or in Heart Gold and Soul Silver where you can rematch all 16 gym leaders whenever you wanted with full teams. Not even the best post-game mode in all of Pokemon, from Black and White 2, the Pokemon World Tournament ever comes back. Aside from getting rid of game modes, there's the big 3 that I commonly see players do once a campaign is over. Completing the Pokédex, shiny hunting, and battling. Completing the Pokédex will always pass the time for post-game because not every Pokemon is available during the campaign, which is perfectly fine. There are players who still enjoy shiny hunting. Shiny Pokemon are essentially a Pokemon with a different color palette that sparkles! you'll have a 1 in 4,096 chance of encountering one. The method used to find them is usually chaining or soft reset in hundreds or even thousands of times until they show up and the player catches it. And then there's the infamous Shiny Lock. Shinylocking is when developers decide that Pokemon entered here isn't allowed to be shiny, thus locking it. Usually it's legendaries, mythicals, and starters. If anything, that just pisses off the shiny hunters. Allegedly, because I can't find a proper source aside from this YouTube video, Masuda himself said that they've been shiny locking legendary Pokemon because they are already special within themselves. So adding a shiny variant on top of that would negate a special encounter with a non-shiny legendary Pokemon. But then this same company will then give away shiny Pokemon like candy on Halloween. Battling is where most players come together. You just beat the champion with your awesome team and you're ready to have some battles. But there's a time and place for everything, but not now. I always like to observe how Week 1 players search for matchmaking, asking if they want to fight other people with story teams only. That's an odd question to ask. Well, that's because properly training your Pokemon team to optimal combat is a long, vigorous process. And by not properly training them, will put you in an almost unwinnable disadvantage. And that brings us to breeding. And since Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were the last games that had the entire Pokemon roster, and the game I've spent the most time on breeding, we'll be talking about that version. But before we hop into that, 9 times out of 10, you'll want to use a Ditto. And you'll want a Pokemon with the ability Flame Body in your party. Why? Because egg hatching is step-based, ranging from 1,280 steps to 10,240 steps. Flame Body will cut that number in half. How kind of them to give us a mechanic to speed up the process. Natures are very important when it comes to battling, and nature will give you a random stat on your Pokemon, a 10% boon increase, and another random stat, a 10% bane decrease. So if your story mode team has a bad nature, well, you better go catch another Pokemon and pray that you have the nature that you desire. Because there's 25 in the game, if you're not fishing for a neutral nature, your odds become that much harder. Because there's a possibility of the boon stat canceling out the bane stat, giving you a 4% chance of rolling what you want. But don't worry guys, if you have a Pokemon with the ability Synchronize at the start of your party, that Pokemon's nature will give you a 50% chance to pass on to the Pokemon you're trying to catch. If you're trying to make babies, you better hold an Everstone if one of the parents has a nature that you desire, because thankfully, Everstones aren't too hard to find. Having the right ability is vital in Pokemon battle. It's a passive skill that can make or break a Pokemon's viability. Sometimes your Pokemon will have an ability you don't want. Oh, if that's the case, you better go catch the same Pokemon again, or hop on that Tauros and start galloping in circles, because I'm sure nobody nearby will be judging you. But don't worry, TPC has you covered. There's an item you can purchase called the Ability Capsule that lets you change a Pokemon's ability. All it costs is 100 BP. But you can't use it to get a Pokemon's hidden ability. What's a hidden ability, you may ask? Hidden abilities are a passive skill that can make or break a Pokemon's viability. Hidden abilities can be great for the Pokemon that you're using, but they're very difficult to obtain. Unless TPC serves the hidden ability Pokemon you want on a silver platter via mystery gift, the only other option to get the hidden ability is to SOS chain. The game won't tell you when the hidden ability Pokemon shows up, so you should bring a Pokemon that has the ability that reveals the opposing side's ability, and pray that the hidden ability actually shows up. Hidden abilities are stupid, and should just be in the pool of regular abilities to make all of our lives easier. The starter Pokemon don't need Blaze, Torrent, or Overgrow anymore. These abilities are very niche. What's crazy is that on Pokemon.com, where they talk about breeding, they state how finding a hidden ability Pokemon, while also having the right nature, can be very time consuming. Which it is! Pokemon can learn up to a maximum of 4 moves, so naturally, you would want 4 good moves that synergizes with your Pokemon and your overall game plan for a team build. Moves can be learned from level ups, technical machines, also known as TMs, or move tutors. Sometimes you'll run into situations where a Pokemon can learn a move, but because said move was from a tutor or TM from a previous generation, the only way said Pokemon can learn it is if you transfer it all the way up to the current generation. The developers couldn't even bother to throw that move pool to a move tutor for current players. And here is where things get much more annoying. Egg moves. These type of skills are only available through breeding Pokemon. If there's any move on that list that you desire, you better get back on that Tauros. This is one of the few times where Ditto won't save you. For two Pokemon to make love with each other and successfully be able to produce a baby, they need to be from the same egg group. There are 14 egg groups excluding Ditto, because genders matter in this situation. For example, if you want a Raichu to have the move Fake Out, you will need a female Pikachu and a male Meowth that knows Fake Out. The female will always reproduce its own species, and the male will pass on Fake Out to the baby. Just a heads up, the gender ratio for every Pokemon isn't 50-50. If you're trying to breed an egg move into a starter, well, let's just say you'll be in the nursery for a long time. Once the Pokemon are presumably smashing each other in the nursery after you drop them off, for every 256 steps you take, the Pokemon will have a chance at laying the egg. A chance! And the game won't tell you, so you need to be checking on the nursery often. Hopefully the RNG isn't too bad. Spoiler alert, it is. Assuming your Pokemon were caught by the same trainer, they will have the same trainer ID. And because they are both different species, the chance an egg will spawn is 20%. But don't worry guys. As long as one of the Pokemon is caught by another trainer and traded to you either as a female or a male with the exact same egg move you're looking for, the percentage will get bumped up to 50%. How swell. But don't worry guys again! As long as you hand over an Oval Charm and give it to one of the Pokemon in the nursery, those percentages go up to 40% with the same ID and 80% for different IDs. Which is stupid for two reasons. First being the spawn rate should just be 100%, and the second reason being that if you're breeding, your Pokemon will be holding onto a much more vital held item anyway. One of the worst additions of the Pokemon franchise because it made this breeding system a flustercuck. Baby Pokemon! They got introduced in Generation 2, giving Pokemon from previous generations either an evolution or extended evolution line. Here's where things don't make sense for breeding. Example, both Pikachu and Marill both have baby forms. If you breed a Pikachu, the egg will hatch into a Pichu. If you breed a Marill, the egg will hatch into a Marill. In order to get the baby form Azurill, you need to get a held item called the Sea Incense. The Marill needs to hold it during breeding so that the egg spawns the baby Pokemon Azurill. Why does that matter? Because egg moves. If you wanted your eventual Azumarill to learn an egg move like Sing, it could only learn it during the Azurill stage. But Azurill can't learn Superpower as an egg move, but Marill can. In the original Sun and Moon, I wanted to give a Breloom Focus Punch for a very toxic moveset. Literally. Although Breloom could learn Focus Punch in Gen 4, I didn't want to transfer one all the way over, especially in a generation where TMs are one use only. So in order to get Focus Punch in that game, I had to get a female Granbull and a male Vigoroth which knew Focus Punch, since both are from the same field group, had to spam them making babies in hope of getting a male, since the ratio was not in my favor. Then, get the male Snubbull to smash my female Shroomish, who has no arms by the way, to finally produce a Shroomish with a Focus Punch that I needed. And then Ultra Sun and Moon came out, and Focus Punch was available as a tutor move. How are regular players supposed to know these moves are a thing to begin with without some sort of guide? Beats me, but egg moves are a complete waste of time and should just be in a move tutor to begin with. If you want to use a happiness-based move like Return, because it benefits off an ability, or because your Pokemon's move pool is terrible, you better raise your Pokemon's happiness. Happiness is a numerical value. The game will not tell you. But don't worry, the game will throw you a bone though. If you find this one person in the country and show her your Pokemon, she will give you a statement telling you what number range you're in. Not the exact number, a number range. Why can't happiness just be in my Pokemon stat page, so I know how much further I need to go? Is that so hard? If you haven't been turned off by breeding or think it's not that bad, don't worry, it gets a lot worse. Effort values, also known as EVs. Early in the video, I mentioned story teams aren't suited for competitive battling. EVs are a big reason why. Every time an opposing Pokemon is defeated in the campaign, whether it be wild or belonging to a trainer, your Pokemon will earn 1 to 3 EVs depending on the opposing Pokemon. Something the game will not tell you. Those EVs can be either attack, defense, special defense, speed, or HP. There is also some cases where Pokemon will give you EVs from 2 different stats. Every Pokemon can have a maximum of 510 EVs at a time. For every 4 EVs at your Pokemon's maximum potential, that Pokemon's stat will increase by 1 point. However, a specific stat cannot go higher than 252 EVs, meaning at level 100, that stat will be maxed out at 63 points higher than normal. Your team's EVs will be all over the place, but let's say you got the abilities and natures you wanted from a story Pokemon. There's a way to remove EVs that you don't want on a Pokemon. These 6 berries. Using it on a Pokemon makes it more friendly, but lowers its enter stat here. How much is more friendly and lower? Well, in the latter's case, it just means minus 10 EVs, meaning you'll need at most 26 berries for whichever stat for just 1 Pokemon. Where do you find these berries? In designated berry piles located around Alola. You won't find 26 on the floor, so you'll need to farm them. That's where the Poképelago comes in, an area you unlock after beating Kiawe's trial. It's a small isle that you can develop over time by the amount of Pokebeans you collect and the number of Pokemon you caught overall. Isle of Plenty is where you grow berries. How long does it take for these EV berries to grow? 48 hours! If you have enough Pokebeans, you can shorten the time in half. For any green and newcomer players to the Pokemon franchise, when they were using the Poképelago during their campaign, hopefully they prioritize growing these berries of horrible descriptions and not something like Citrus Lum and Lepa berries that are actually useful in current time.
Stupid kid.
Now that we established how to get rid of EVs, it's time to get them, and there's a few ways. Let's work on the speed stat. While we're at it, let's take TPC's advice on which Pokemon to farm from their official website for competitive breeding. For speed EVs, that would be Diglett. Since Diglett only yield 1 speed EV, you would have to KO 252 of them to max out the stat. But don't worry, the developers thought ahead on this one. In Alola, when wild Pokemon are getting blown back and at the brink of death, they use an SOS call rate to summon another Pokemon to their side, making it a 1v2. The call rate can range from 0 to 15, 0 meaning they'll never call for help, and 15 meaning they'll call for help frequently. Anytime you KO an SOS Pokemon, the ones that came for backup, your EV count actually gets doubled. In order to SOS chain, you need an Adrenaline Orb, so the main Pokemon will keep calling reinforcements. You can also use one of the 6 power held items to speed up the process. Now, where do you get these power items? At the Battle Royale Dome. How do you pay for them? Not with Poké Dollars, but instead with BP. They all cost 16 BP each. Sounds cheap, right? Well, in order to get BP in Ultra Sun and Moon, there's 3 ways. First way is in the building that we're currently in, a free-for-all between 4 trainers. All I'll say is good luck getting first place consistently, or at all, because the AI will definitely all try to gangbang you whenever they get the chance. The second way to get BP is the Battle Tree, this game's version of the Battle Frontier, where you can choose between singles, doubles, or multi, which is just doubles but with 4 trainers instead of 2. But how many battle points do we get when we win a battle?
1!
You dastards! Keeping your streak going in this format is difficult, because the trainers have fully EV and IV trained Pokemon. You're fighting battle-ready Pokemon with your not-ready battle Pokemon to get the prerequisite items for your not battle-ready Pokemon. Fantastic design! The third way to get BP is Mantine Surfing. They're called beach points, but you can still redeem them at the battle shop locations. It comes with a tutorial on how to gather speed and make the big points using hang time off of big waves. If you can tolerate playing the game and you're good at it, this will for sure be the fastest way of racking up BP. So back to training. So if you do have this power item, anytime you KO a Pokemon with the right EV yield, it will add 8 EV points. If we KO an SOS Diglett, we'd be gaining 18 EVs per KO. However, there is a way to get 13 EVs per KO in this Diglett, making all of this a lot faster. Want to know how? You need to catch an illness! Yes, you heard me right, it's called Pokerus. If your Pokemon has it, its EV gains will double, making it 36 for this Diglett, including all of our previous combinations. It is very contagious and will rapidly spread within your party Pokemon. How do you get Pokerus, you may be asking? A wild Pokemon might be carrying it. a 1 to 21,845 chance of it appearing. That's more rare than shiny Pokemon. Its only reason for existing is for EV training. This must be one of the most moronic ideas for a video game I have ever seen. What if you need to take a break from SOS chaining, you know? Wanna go stretch your legs, go play something else, try again another day? Alright, let's see how many more EVs are left to do. Wait, what? Why can't we see how many EVs we have? Oh, that's right! Even though the game keeps track of how many EVs are on a Pokemon, unless you know how to read that yellow bump in the hexagon, the game won't tell the player the exact numerical value. At the very least, if you reach 252 EVs in a stat, the word will sparkle. But what if you want to run a mixed attacking Pokemon, or a mixed tank with more EV spreads? Well, it sucks to be you, and you better get counted manually. Another method of getting EVs is on Isle Level Up in the Poképelago. Rank it up immediately so you have 18 Pokemon playing at once. For every 30 minutes, a Pokemon of your choosing with a stat of your choosing is thrown on the play structure. They will gain 4 EVs every 30 minutes, meaning if you want to max out 252 EVs, you'll have to leave your Pokemon in the daycare for 31 hours. If you have enough Pokebeans to cram in that crate over there, it'll be 15.5 hours. At least for this form of EV training, you can just leave your Pokemon in there and not have to do anything until the play session is over. Even turning off your game is perfectly fine. However, this mode won't let you work on all the EV stats you want at once, because that would be too easy. Another method of getting EVs are vitamins, a nutritious drink for Pokemon. When consumed, it raises the base stat of a single Pokemon. How many EVs do you gain exactly? The game will not tell you, but I will. It's 10. You can buy these vitamins at the Battle Royale Dome for 2 BP each.
It's a trap!
Do not buy them here as cheap as they look. You want to keep your BP for later. Trust me on this. Instead, you can buy them at the Pokemon Center on Route 10 for 10,000 Pokédollars each. If you're filthy rich, you can just buy 26 of these in one stat and max out instantly, right? Wrong! That is not the case since our Pokemon don't want to finish their Flintstone vitamins today, and can only max out at 10 drinks before they no longer work. You can't even get halfway to 252. Come on! Individual values, also known as IVs. It gauges a Pokemon's full potential in all 6 stat categories. Unlike EVs, these values are much harder to max out, ranging from 0 to 31. Something the game will not tell you. What the game tells you, instead, is a Pokemon's characteristic. It indicates which IV stat from a Pokemon is the highest. Let's take a look at an example. Likes to run. One would think that this Pokemon's specialty is speed, and in that case, they would be right. That sentence alone means that the speed stat could be 30. Or it could be 5, or it could be 10, 15, 20, 25, or even 0. But don't worry, the developers came up with another way to check one's potential. You can use the judge function. In order to get that, you need to become champion, hatch at least 20 eggs, then talk to this dude at the battle tree and he'll install it in your PC box. And would you look at that, everyone's favorite hexagon is back. And no, there aren't any visible numerical values here either. Best means 21, fantastic means 30, no good means 0, very good means between 21 to 29, pretty good means from 11 to 20, decent means 1 to 10. For this hexagon of this female Pikachu, attack and defense are both set to decent, but you can't tell what that exact number is. In this Wired UK interview, Masuda gets asked the question,
the real hardcore Pokemon players are aware of the creature's hidden stats, the effort values and individual values. Why do you keep those hidden instead of letting players see them?
Each Pokemon does have a value, but I don't consider those data as parameters. I prefer to think of them as real, living creatures. It's the same way that if you have a pet and someone else has the same breed of dog, it's a different dog. That way people can play the game and my Pokemon will be different to your Pokemon, even if they're the same type.
You're hiding values from the player in a turn-based role-playing game because you prefer to think of Pokemon as real living creatures? In that case, you must have missed some spots. Let's also hide the attacking stat, defensive stat, speed stats, and hit points as well. I'm sure the player won't need that information while playing the video game. Gotta keep it realistic!
A comparison would be looking at a data sheet on different dogs, and deciding about the data on the different dogs, and deciding which one you want based on that data. That would be soulless.
You have a system where story mode Pokemon are doomed to be unviable. For compensation, you created a tedious system where players force breed Pokemon together to make viable babies so that they have a fighting chance at winning their battles. The absolute irony of Soulless. And those 30 characteristics? None of those traits are expressed in gameplay at all. A Slowpoke who is mischievous acts no different than a Slowpoke who takes plenty of siestas. Unless you hit those two. When it comes to IVs, they don't max out like EVs do, so you would want your Pokemon to have 31 in every stat to reach its max potential. Introducing Hyper Training! There's only one guy in the country who can help you with that, and it's this random dude in the city shopping mall. He'll increase your IVs to maximum regardless of the number. That's great! How do we do it? Well, there's a prerequisite. The Pokemon needs to be level 100. Even though you can set PvP battles to level 50. I find it crazy how the level cap in Pokemon is always 100, but the game won't provide you with level 100 trainers to fight. Because if you return to the Elite Four, their Pokemon only range from level 60 to 70. But don't worry guys, the developers have your back on this one. Because we're SOS chaining once again. Make your way to the Pony Plains, walk up to a specific bush where it has a 20% chance to spawn a Chansey. Before you go into battle, make sure the Pokemon you want to reach level 100 has a Lucky Egg for boosted experience. Unless you have a back alley dealer who will hook you up with candy at a low price, you better get cracking. Level 100 isn't enough, because this random man will only help you if you give him bottle caps. A bottle cap will max out a stat of your choosing, and a golden bottle cap will max out all stats. Why can't they just all be golden bottle caps to begin with, making it easier for everyone? I have no idea. To get a gold bottle cap, you just need to get the top score in all 4 Mantine Surf courses. To get a bottle cap, you can go fishing on Pony Island and hope you get a bottle cap and not some random creature. Or, you can get 30 shards of one color to trade for a bottle cap. How do you get these shards? On this aisle right here in the Poképelago. And I hope you leveled it up to level 3, because you'll have the most amount of Pokemon digging in the caves looking for them. And hope they bring enough of them in 24-hour time period that they're gone. Or 12 hours if you have enough Pokebeans in the crate. Or you can look for bottle caps on the same aisle under the path for rare treasure hunting. Or get a 30 or 50 win streak at the battle tree. Or win the lottery. The prerequisite to get this at the festival plaza is level 8. And pray to the RNG gods that an NPC from another game stumbles into your festival plaza, selling the treasure hunt 2-star facility that you can buy off of them for 100 festival coins. Then you can raffle for a lottery ticket in hopes of getting a bottle cap. Once per day! Who did this? We're not done with the nursery. Since hyper training is the only way to earn IVs, you can breed a child who will have amazing potential from the get-go, so we don't have to break into any more liquor stores. When a new bred Pokemon spawns into the world, it inherits 3 random IV stats from the parents. If you want a specific stat inherited, you give one of the power items from EV training for a parent to hold, and the remaining 2 stats will be completely random. If you give 2 power items to the parents, the child won't inherit both stats intentionally. The game will randomly choose one. The most optimal way to breed IVs down is a Destiny Knot. In order to get one, you must save a girl from Frillish, and she will give it to you as a reward. Don't you dare lose that one, because if you want to replace it, it will cost a whopping 48 BP. When given to one of the parents, the baby will inherit 5 random EVs from the parents. One may think, oh, that's not too bad. If I just hyper train this Ditto to maximum, I'll get perfect IVs almost every time. You could not be any more wrong. Hyper training a Pokemon doesn't raise the IVs to 31. It pretends it's at 31 during battle. When it comes to breeding, that maxed IV stat isn't real. These imbeciles looked at all of this information and said, let's program Hidden Power into this. Hidden Power is described as a normal type special attacking move that almost every Pokemon can use with 60 power. What makes it so special is that it can deal damage using a different element type. It's really useful for a Pokemon with a bad coverage move pool, or if you're looking to hard counter a common metagame Pokemon. What determines Hidden Power's typing is a Pokemon's IVs, which is completely random. The Pokemon's IVs gets added into this formula, and will pick one of the following numbers between 0 and 15 to get your typing. Even after fairy typing got added, they didn't realize, hey, maybe we should overhaul hidden power, being binded to values that the player has no control over. But nope, they decided to omit the fairy typing entirely, meaning it's impossible to get hidden power fairy. The only way you'll know what type of hidden power your Pokemon has is to put your Pokemon stat into this online calculator, or talk to the one person in the country who just knows this information without telling you how they came to that conclusion. Good luck getting the hidden power you want! If only there's a way to manipulate your IVs. If only. Held items are given to a Pokemon to aid them in battle. Although not necessary in the campaign, they are vital in PvP. Some of these items can be found by exploring, through NPCs, or found on wild Pokemon. Sometimes there's held items that disappear once they passively get used in battle. An example are berries, which makes sense since they're a consumable item, and they're not hard to replace because you can grow more. Then you have mental, power, and white herbs. If you accidentally consume one in combat that isn't PvP or a battle facility, it's gone. The problem here is that you can grow back berries, but you can't grow back herbs. Go buy some more with your BP! Speaking of which, the prices for these items get outrageous, especially if you want to grab 6 of them for a full team. Power points, also known as PP, is the number of times a move can be used. Weaker moves tend to have higher PP, and powerful moves tend to have lower PP. For some nutty reason, PP can get raised by 3 stages, increasing the number of times you can use a single move. 12 PP ups would be needed for a single Pokemon. You'll sometimes come across this item while exploring the region, but if you want a dedicated place to get some, get over here and sacrifice your BP! There's also the item called PP Max, where it just skips the 3 stages and maxes out a move immediately. Those cannot be bought and are much more rare to come across. Out of everything I talked about when it comes to breeding the best of the best, this in my opinion is the least important grind to worry about. However, when playing PvP, you could run into difficulties if you're not maxed out. Sometimes, depending on the matchup, you could end up in a stalemate. And if your PP isn't bigger than the other player, you will die. Struggle! This attack is used in desperation only if the user has no PP. It also damages the user a little, meaning you will kill yourself. Now! Just like bottle caps, why is there an inferior version of a PP Max? It should just be PP Max. Or better yet, get rid of this PP Max entirely and just have every move across the board be maxed out. After viewing the last 7 sections of the video, some of you may be saying that TPC fixed breeding in Generation 8. Before Sword and Shield came out, they posted a video dedicated to changes for breeding. You have items to change natures, you can max out your EVs fully on vitamins, Pokemon of the same species can pass egg moves to each other, there's candy that levels you up much faster, and item cost when it comes to BP is much cheaper. They even added a rental system where you can play with other people's builds. Although Sword and Shield doesn't fix everything, it at least made quality of life changes. But that isn't enough, TPC. Because people will hack your games anyway. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned accessibility, and this is where it becomes relevant again. Because we're in territory that isn't affiliated with Nintendo or the Pokemon Company. The Pokemon community likes to call it genning, because a Pokemon is being generated for use in the official games. It's essentially a fluffy word for hacking, because that's what it is. Because players try to self-validate why they're doing it in the first place. And honestly, I don't blame them. Legal hacking, in this case, means a Pokemon gets generated with a nature, ability, moveset, EV spread, held item, max PP, and an IV spread which complements the hidden power of their choosing if they choose to run that move. I won't tell you the process and how it works, but it's much faster than running in circles like an idiot. The time spent in post-game should be learning about your team's synergy. What's extremely hilarious about hacking your Pokemon is that neither Game Freak or the Pokemon Company can tell the difference between an in-game bred Pokemon or a generated one. The only way you would get caught is if you taught a Pokemon a move it can't learn, or if you bring a Shiny-locked Pokemon. There's an even faster way to battle, and you don't have to buy the games to do so. Pokemon Showdown, created by Zero in 2011. Showdown is a web-based Pokemon battle simulator where you can essentially make any team of your choosing in minutes. You can battle online against friends and even ladder in different metagames and tiers. The best thing about Pokemon Showdown now is that you're not forced to play on a 20-minute timer. 2019, the famous or infamous website Kotaku made an article highlighting this fan-made browser as pro Pokemon players' secret weapon and posted it on Twitter. And let's just say the fans weren't too happy about that. Nintendo is well known for taking down fan-made projects. They won't hesitate to send out the ninjas to break somebody's kneecaps with DMCAs. However, at the time of this video, Pokemon Showdown is still going strong today. I'm positive Nintendo, Game Freak, and the Pokemon Company have all caught wind of it existing by now. It's very likely they left Showdown alone because they're aware of how much of a dumpster fire their breeding system is. And if they ever pulled the plug on that website, they would lose a huge portion of their competitive fan base. Because not only do players use Showdown for content and fun, but competitive players also use it to test out teams and practice for the current VGC meta. Not every video game out there is suited for competitive play, or even needs it, but when games do have some form of rank system or esports, it creates longevity. Pokemon does just that, the Pokemon Video Game Championships, also known as VGC, tournaments that take place all over the world. For the mainline games, players will be duking it out in a 4v4 doubles battle, which is very odd because there's no singles category. When 95% of the game you play in the campaign, you're engaging in single battles? Oh, you thought Smogon was part of the VGC? No, it's not. Smogon is community-based for primarily singles, and they actually tier the Pokemon with different category battles, since they're aware how unbalanced several Pokemon can be. They even have a tier for banned Pokemon, and there is still a Pokemon who managed to get banned from that category. If you were breeding legitimately for the sole purpose of singles for FGC and never got that memo, you're in for a rude awakening. Not that double battles are a bad format or anything, in fact it lets support Pokemon be more supportive than usual. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't found anywhere online where the Pokemon Company expresses why singles aren't a format. Going to take a few shots in the dark here and say that maybe singles isn't a category because players could get swept immediately. Or maybe players will stall each other out because competitive players will do that if there's placements and or money on the line. Or maybe singles is just so unbalanced that they don't want to acknowledge it publicly and just keeping it quiet is the best option. Pokemon has been known to have so much RNG. Players will refer to it as hacks. You could get hacked enough in one match where the player robs you of your victory. RNG, from what I've seen, is a hot topic when it comes to competitive play. There is room for it, but when does it become too much? There's moves with potential secondary effects, critical hits, moves that can miss, status ailments, flinching, all of that jazz. It's what you signed up for if you're playing seriously. But why, out of all of these hacks, there's RNG for how much damage you deal? Unless you're using a move like Seismic Toss or Nightshade, an attack you will use will have a random min-max damage roll. One time you hit an opponent, it does more than 50%. Next time you use the same move in the exact same situation, it might not kill because your damage rolled low. This wouldn't be a problem if you could aim for different spots of a Pokemon. I can't shoot the chest one time, and then shoot the horn another time. This feature could stay in the campaign because it's perfectly fine, it's casual, but keep that out of PvP because it's inconsistent for no reason at all. With the 3DS out of the way in 2019 with its final physical release on the system, Persona Q2, highly recommend, the game is based, meant that the mainline games could ignore the home consoles no more. TPC already got a head start in late 2018 with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It might not have been every Pokemon fan's cup of tea, but the next big title would be releasing on holiday of 2019. At E3 during the Nintendo Treehouse, the world got a live presentation of Sword and Shield gameplay, featuring the brand new Wild Area and max raid battles. What took the Pokemon world by storm is what was said during the live stream.
So I think, Masuda-san, I think there was another topic that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, there's one thing I'd like to talk about, and it's about the Pokemon Home service that we recently announced. So it will connect with the Pokemon RPGs as well as Pokemon Go to allow players to really gather all of their Pokemon in a single location. And of course it will also work with the Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield games. But there is one important change from the previous Pokemon Bank service that I want to tell all of its users about. So in previous games that worked with the Pokemon Bank service, you were able to, for example in Sun and Moon, bring over any Pokemon even if they weren't in the Alola Pokedex. But with the transition to the Nintendo Switch hardware, with its, it being much more powerful, allowing us to be much more expressive with each of the individual Pokemon. And now we're well over 800 Pokemon species in the games. And at Game Freak, we really spent a lot of time thinking about what the best way to move forward was, really preserving the quality of all the different Pokemon while also, taking into account the battle balance, having so many different Pokemon available, all within, a limited development time, so we don't keep fans waiting too long for every new entry in the series. And after a lot of discussion, we decided to come to kind of a new direction. And so what that means for Pokemon Sword and Shield is that players will be able to transfer their Pokemon from Pokemon Home only if they appear in the Galar region Pokedex. So we were very careful. We spent a lot of time really thinking what the best selection of Pokemon to match the setting of the adventure would be. So I'll talk more about the details and future opportunities such as media interviews, but I wanted to let you know today. And I know there are a lot of users of the Pokemon Bank service who are looking forward to Pokemon Home, so I wanted to let them know what the change would be well in advance.
I'm sorry, what? The final straw that broke the camel's back. That Treehouse presentation spread like a wildfire, and it felt like the Pokemon community was at war. It was that bad. Pokemon on social media can post literally anything, and you'll have hordes of people fighting in the replies. A hashtag of bring back the National Pokédex was getting thrown around during all of this madness. And you would also have anti-Dexters counterattacking the Nat-Dexters. Although I understand the frustration of not having all the Pokemon return in this new installment, the hashtag itself is quite stupid. In the Alola Dex in Generation 7, which they told you in the livestream, the National Dex didn't feature every existing Pokemon during its time, just like Generation 8. The only difference was Generation 7 had compatibility with every Pokemon, so that they could be playable without being recorded in the Pokédex. This Nat-Dexters movement also invited a lot of toxic people who were clearly just there just to join a hate campaign, while attacking individuals in the process. And that's never okay. Any anti-Dexters who try to match that energy are idiots as well, and should probably go look in a mirror. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the game that came out a year prior for the Nintendo Switch, which is considered mainline according to these people, not even every Pokemon in Kanto made it into Sword and Shield. Since everyone isn't here, let's see what Sword and Shield provides for us long-time hardcore fans for compensation. A common excuse we hear is the quality of the Pokemon, making them much more expressive since we're on more powerful hardware. Because yes, the mainline games have been on handhelds for over 20 years. If you've been playing the games for a long time, you'll notice that Pokemon from Gens 1 to 6 have the same animations from the 2013 game Pokemon X and Y, the first mainline game in the series to drop sprites and use models. Now, is reusing animations considered lazy? In most cases, I don't think so, including this one. The issue here is that the animations from X and Y aren't that impressive at all. Most of the Pokemon there are just borderline mannequins. They've got next to no energy. There's Pokemon signature moves that have some sort of spice to them and are nice to look at. But most of the moves the Pokemon use in modern time are incredibly underwhelming or laughingly bad. It's like somebody picked up the models with their mouse in Photoshop and is moving them around. When there's a Pokemon battle, there'll be times where you'll get teleported into a hyperbolic time chamber. Were we just in a building? You know what? Maybe all that effort went into balance. Even after all these years, Ice types haven't been buffed defensively. Ice can only resist itself, and it has 4 different weaknesses. They can't really pivot into anything during battle. Glass cannons would make sense if most Ice types were as fast as Keemstar, but uh-oh, they're not. How about we look at the gimmick of the week, Dynamaxing, where a Pokemon eats a Mega Mushroom from New Super Mario Bros. And becomes Giga. If you hated Z moves, oh man, you might not like this. Instead of getting 1 supersized FU attack, Dynamaxing gives you 3. Dynamax moves not only hit you like a bus, depending on its type, it can boost a stat for everyone on your side of the battlefield, give you a terrain effect for free, decreases the opposing Pokemon stat, or just change the weather. If you're feeling threatened and have a status move, Dynamaxing gives you Max Guard, nullifying any damage done to you when the opponent attacks for that turn. A glorified Protect. For both Mega Evolution and Z moves, at least for those you had to sacrifice a held battle item in order to use those mechanics in battle. For Dynamax, any Pokemon can turn massive whenever they want. If you're running a choice item that locks you into 1 attack and you want to change moves while also staying in, just go Dynamax. The choice item will get disabled, but you get to pick whatever move you want. Shrink back and continue your sweep. Dynamaxing also doubles your HP. Great balance, guys! Let's take a dive into the campaign of Sword and Shield. Just like all the other games, you're a young boy or girl living with your mother. You and your neighbor become brand new trainers getting your very first Pokemon in order to explore the country, collect gym badges in order to become champion. Out of every mainline Pokemon game in the franchise, Sword and Shield emphasizes the most on gym battles. A yearly event called the Gym Challenge, where it's spectated as a national sport where trainers get endorsed to compete in. By defeating all 8 gyms, said trainer can enter the Champion Cup, where they fight in a tournament bracket against gym leaders and other trainers in order to be crowned the very best, like no one ever was. Everyone in-game will not shut up about the Gym Challenge. It does make some sort of sense, since it's a big deal in the Galar region. But with the oversaturation of gym leaders this franchise has, and for the past 20 years all we've been doing is collecting gym badges, I could not care any less. During your journey, you'll occasionally run into Sonia and other characters who will talk about the legends and the history of Galar, which quite frankly has lackluster lore that I couldn't care any less for either. There's a cutscene where one of your rivals, Bede, pulls up to a historical site to smash it up with the chairman's Pokemon. This cutscene made me howl in laughter. Not because it was intentionally trying to be funny, but because your rival tried to vandalize a historical mural that looks like it got painted by a first grader and got banned for it. Something else I found extremely hilarious was the wild area, something TPC has been highlighting up until the game's release. Oh look, it's that infamous Ocarina of Time tree that the internet loves to fight about. Low-hanging fruit when it comes to criticism for Sword and Shield. If it's okay for smaller attentions to detail in video games get acknowledged and praised, the reverse should also be the same. This is just one bad tree. But uh-oh, these trees are everywhere! The wild area isn't visually pleasing or fun to go through. Aside from collecting items and catching Pokemon, the wild area has several dens. The active dens contain Dynamax Pokemon, where you and 3 other trainers work together in a max raid battle to take it down. Beating these raid battles give you the option to catch the Pokemon if you desire, and the game rewards everyone with lots of experience, candy, TRs, and other useful items. This is a mode you can play with random trainers or with friends online. The wild area online is atrocious. Gameplay gets all choppy, and you'll have trainers popping in out of thin air. This connection is a trash bin. The evil organization quota, if you want to call it that, gets filled in by the organization Macrocosmos, the ones running the Pokemon League. Near the end of the game, Leon misses out on his promised dinner plans and was last seen headed for Rose Tower. On the way there to investigate, the gang gets stopped by Oleana. She states that Leon is with the chairman, and they have an important meeting that no one shall interfere. She goes to the length of telling the gang that a key is required to ride the monorail to Rose Tower. She gives a key to a leaked staff member, who runs away where you must go play hide and seek with them. And the dude is just chilling there, facing a wall like we can't see him. After the wild goose chase, the staff member hides at the monorail station with his key and blends in with other staff members. How do we get the key now? It's time to take a page out of Sonic Underground and sing a song! Peter starts a street performance that causes a crowd commotion, giving the others an opportunity to snag the key. What? We don't even see the characters take it! Something the game loves to do is show us cutscenes where action is going on, but they don't show us anything, and then just fade to black. These mainline Pokemon games desperately need some sort of voice acting because these scenes feel very, very empty. If it's too much for the small indie company to handle, at the very least give some grunts or one-liners for these characters to say. In the championship match against Leon, the battle gets interrupted by an announcement calling out the protagonist and Leon, saying, "How dare you not listen to me? We must save Galar's 1,000 years from now, and I couldn't wait any longer, so I'm screwing over all of you in the present right now with my Wishing Stars." And he just unleashes Dynamax Pokemon across the region. Why is this happening now? The game ends with a legendary team-up, warning the bad guys and becoming champion. Yippee. This game took me weeks to beat. Not because it was hard, but because I wanted to punch my eyes out. The post-game for Sword and Shield introduces us to these 2 bozos who claim to be of a royal Galar bloodline, stealing the rusted Sword and Shield. They force Pokemon and Dynamax across the entire region, causing problems for everyone. These Dynamax Pokemon are found at the gyms, where you'll be doing a max raid battle to calm them down. Raid after raid after raid overstays its welcome. These 2 clowns show up so many times during the post-game, and are established to be bad people, stealing and hurting Pokemon. Can we just tackle or arrest these guys? They're right there! And the protagonist, dude, please. Do something more than just smiling, standing there. Show another emotion! Surprisingly, Sword and Shield got DLC, because from the sound of it during E3, there were no current plans for it. DLC comes in a two-part expansion pass, the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra. In the base game, only 400 Pokemon were available in the Galar Pokédex. Excluding brand new Pokemon and Galarian forms, the expansion pass brings back 221 Pokemon. It's not all of them, but that's a medium amount. These Pokemon aren't dono-walled either. As long as one person in the world has the expansion pass, those Pokemon are now in the ecosystem, because non-DLC owners can still battle and trade with those Pokemon. If you want your old Pokemon back from previous generations, at that point you'll need to just pay for Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home. In Isle of Armor, you can join the Master Dojo, run by the leader Mustard. You participate in the dojo trials while also training and learning with the legendary Pokemon Urshifu. The wild area in the DLC is significantly better than the ones in the base. The developers also returned a feature that fans have been begging for since Heart Gold and Soul Silver: your partner Pokemon following you around. This was also recently added in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. But unlike Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they just managed to mess it up here.
Well, they just keep running. You telling me this game not trash?
In Crown Tundra, you meet Peony and Peonia. Hopefully I'm saying these guys' names right. Kinda getting confused with Fire Emblem Heroes. Peony wants to go on an adventure, but you end up taking her place and participate in 3 different adventures involving the legendary 5-Head, the legendary Reggie Trio, and the legendary Bird Trio. The Crown Tundra has more of an emphasis on battling and capturing legendary Pokemon, and has a game mode that should have been in the base game: Dynamax Adventure. A group of 4 trainers each grab a rental Pokemon they must use for the 3 max raid battles coming up ahead. On an overworld map, you can choose what path to take on the type of max raid you want. Once a raid is defeated, one of the trainers can swap out their rental, the Dynamax Pokemon, for the rest of the adventure. It's a lot more strategic than the regular max raid battles. The expansion pass enhances the Sword and Shield experience immensely with its extra content, and by bringing back more Pokemon, but at a cost. Myself being Canadian, having a full experience of Sword and Shield is getting the game at $79.99 before taxes, plus the expansion pass at $37.79 before taxes, paying for Pokemon Bank, paying for Pokemon Home, realizing not all of my favorites are coming back because they still died to the hands of Thanos, while also realizing that TPC has 20-minute time limit Wi-Fi battles, meaning I won't be getting a proper 6v6 battle in. Yup, the game longtime fans have been waiting for, everybody. The mainline games are what kick off every new generation, and those games are a lot of fans' entries into the Pokemon universe. In recent times, you'll see Pokemon fans upset, arguing, or even criticizing these games harshly. Which brings up the question like, why do you still care? Why are you even a fan? There's a few answers that come to mind. Nostalgia, Pokemon having very memorable, cool, and charming designs that everyone loves, no matter what form of medium they happen to appear in. But I think lastly, the biggest one is scope. The core games originally being on the Game Boy, where you're a trainer traveling the country inhabited with Pokemon living alongside people, it's a grand scale adventure with your Pokemon filling you with imagination, because way back when, the technology wasn't able to truly fulfill that. As gaming generations went on, from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance and to the DS, core Pokemon games never hit the consoles. It wasn't until Generation 6 when the 3DS rolled around. The new handheld was capable of handling 3D models and environments. Sure, it was a big deal for Pokemon, but it was 2013, when other RPGs were exploring the third dimension already in the late 90s and early 2000s. They spent so much time dragging their heels, the transition to 3D was pretty dull. Oh my god, I'm turning to a Sonic review. When I play a double battle on my 3DS, it looks like the screen is about to melt off because the game is struggling so hard to keep a steady frame rate. When Nintendo said no more handheld devices and the mainline games are forced to get on console, there's big expectations and even bigger ones TPC put themselves in. High quality animations is such a meme at this point. The Switch may not be the most powerful console of this generation, but it's annoying when people throw it around as an excuse when Pokemon graphics don't look good as they should be. You get a JRPG like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that is a waylord of a game filled with fun, action-packed cutscenes, with beautiful giant areas to explore and hundreds of monsters to fight. But apparently, that's not fair to compare with mainline Pokemon according to some people. Why can't Pokemon look as visually pleasing as Breath of the Wild, a launched Nintendo Switch game? It's even a Wii U game. I don't find it crazy when people are enjoying games like New Pokemon Snap more than mainline Pokemon, with its beautiful graphics and how Pokemon behave in their habitats. I don't find it crazy when people are enjoying Mystery Dungeon more than the mainline games for its dungeon crawling, stories, and memorable characters. I don't find it crazy when people are enjoying Pokepark more than the mainline games, where you can mess around with other Pokemon and even battle with them in a 3D environment. I don't find it crazy when people are enjoying a fighting game like Pokémon Tournament more than mainline Pokemon, with their expressive Pokemon fighters with their cool attacking animations and beautiful graphics. I don't find it crazy when people are enjoying the MOBA Pokemon Unite more than mainline, even though that game makes me want to break my Switch in half. I don't find it crazy when people are enjoying Pokemon Battle Revolution more than mainline, where battling is better and superior in every single way. In fact, this should have been the bare minimum for mainline games ever since it appeared on the Nintendo Wii. The Pokemon generally feel alive, they're more animated than they've ever been, the moves are super high quality and fun to watch, the Pokemon also have unique fainting animations, the different Colosseums are beautiful, and you're not stuck watching the cameraman cut into that same couple in the crowd every battle, the announcer from the anime is hype, and unlike Game Freak, these guys can get Pokemon proportions properly.
Yo. This is what he's supposed to look like? What the fuck is that? Oh shit, it's a Sharpedo. This is what this Pokemon's supposed to look like in this game? Okay, how does this make any sense? How does this make any sense in their fucking stupid tiny minds? How?
Genius Sonority developed this game, and they did a phenomenal job. But Meta, that's not a fair comparison to make. Game Freak has to make a full game on top with everything else. They have more work to do. Well, you see, before Battle Revolution, Genius Sonority did develop a Pokemon game. Not only once, but twice. The Shadow Pokemon spin-off duology, Pokemon Colosseum, and XD Gale of Darkness. Not only are those games well received in the public eye, but those games also don't take the 10-year-old the champion true combo route. TPC should really bring those guys back for a repeat performance someday, because the development studio made some pretty good bangers. Maybe if the mainline games were pumped out every 1 to 2 years, the games wouldn't get clowned on so much. With the development time that they have, let's not waste time on stupid evolution methods. Maybe we should just keep it to evolution stones and actual level ups. But no, we gotta do something else, like trading, or turning your system upside down, or having a dark type in your party, or when you land a critical hit 3 times, or when you need to bring your Yamask through a stone gate in the Dusty Bowl after I lost at least 49 HP from a single attack without fainting. Ay ay ay. The mainline games unironically need to evolve. However, there is a glimmer of hope. In the recent game Pokemon Legends Arceus, developed by Game Freak, reception for the game has been very positive. The bridge between living in a world of people and Pokemon really connected in this one, because you're out there on the streets capturing and battling Pokemon in real time that can also retaliate and attack you, the trainer. Although it's not perfect, it's a step in a good direction, but we'll have to wait and see where that game's influence will take the rest of the series, because Legends Arceus is still missing out on a few features like multiplayer. Or, they could just say screw that and just easily go back to the older formula. That would upset many, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. No matter how good or bad you think these mainline games are, the thing that matters most is that they sell. And when it comes to companies, money is their first language. Just recently, Sword and Shield became the second best selling Pokemon game of all time. They must be doing something right! The Pokemon Company are in such a comfy position, they can pump out literally anything and fans will eat it up immediately, because Pokemon is that powerful of an IP, and that is aggravating. Special thanks to Serebii, Bulbapedia, and the Pokemon Data websites for providing the Pokemon community all the data that we needed for these games, because man oh man, this video would have been much more annoying to make without those sites, because there is way too much information in these games. But yeah, remember, Pokemon bad, and thank you all for watching, and sayonara.